What's up, Chris?
So this subject of non-toxic masculinity. So what do you got to say about that?
Well, it's an interesting question. We were talking about this the other day, right? I mean, it's like the question is it a thing? Does it exist?
That was my question.
Well, it was your question, Vic. I remember that distinctly.
Like, the question was are we affirming it?
You were kind of against. And,
well, yeah, we can talk about it,
but I think that
What do you mean he was against?
Well, he was like he doesn't believe in it and all this stuff, and I think that.
He believes in it, but he just.
I'm right here.
Yeah, he just he believes that it's a real. I'm not going to speak for you, man. But my bad.
Well, I think the thing though is like whether you agree with it that it's actually a thing, it doesn't matter. I mean, it is something that is in our society, right? I mean, it's being talked about. It's a phrase that's being used.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is out there. So I think the question is,
First of all, can somebody define non-toxic masculinity?
No, I can.
Non-toxic.
Non-toxic.
We're talking about toxic.
The non means that it's not.
We're here representing
So
non-toxic.
not toxic.
Like we are not toxic dudes.
Right.
So,
but what does it mean though? Like, what does it mean? I need to know what it means. Like,
What does toxic masculinity mean?
yes.
Because then you could just say the non is the negative side of that. So we can, if we define what is toxic masculinity, Victor?
Yeah, because I think the whole thing. I think the whole thing is
Demasculating, isn't it? It's like if feminism. Another way to say it is all that, right?
Well, I probably wouldn't pose it that way. I just think that the idea it begs the question about manhood.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And so, for me, I think I don't think there's toxic masculinity. I think there's toxic humanity. There's people who are toxic.
See, here we go. This
right?
is his take
There's people who are toxic. Like it's not so much masculinity or femininity. It's just like no. If you're being a jerk, then no, you're a jerk. If you're toxic, then no, you're toxic. It's not so much a thing that we have to label because then it starts being attached to what manhood is, and I think that's where
the
But problem is.
There's a group of people trying to make men not men.
Indeed.
Right.
Well, I mean, do you think it's that nefarious, or you think? I mean, you got to admit there's been some bad actors, right? I mean, there's some.
Yeah, there's groups.
There's some, men, just like like you say, all people. But I mean, there's been men that have been some bad actors that this kind of came out of that.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe there's an overcorrection going on. I don't know how nefarious it is, how planned out it is that people are actually trying to make men less masculine.
Oh, no,
I think it's just
totally planned.
Well, I think the
totally.
Okay, well, explain that. What do you think is?
I think there's large groups.
The government?
It's part of the narrative of all the what do you call them tags you put on by your name. He, she,
hashtags.
Who's doing that?
Yeah.
Pronouns. Yeah, thank you. That was Casper, the non-toxic ghost in the back. Bro, whoever's doing all this, trying to have categories of humans, with the pronouns and all that. So if somebody said to you, Sam, that you as a toxic man, what would that mean to you?
A toxic man.
Or you're not masculine. You're not masculine. You're not masculine.
I'm not masculine.
Well, that's not. But that's not what toxic man is. Is not masculine. It's the opposite. Over masculine.
It's like machismo. It's
Right.
Bravado. It's like when their idea. It's a caricature of the caveman, the modern caveman dude, right? Like that's the caricature that they paint.
Right.
I haven't met very many of those dudes, quite honestly. I know people who are jerks. I know people who are bad or bad actors and poorly behaved, but like I don't know those guys, and I just think that it just creates this caricature of what manhood is, and I think that for me is what the problem is.
Yeah.
Because then you see a person who's acting out in bravery or even chivalry or trying to be noble and honorable in such a way that elevates the weak or elevates a female or a woman or a child. Like that's what manhood is about, taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you get a man that steps up and takes responsibility, that's somehow offensive to people. Is that?
To a group of people. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, do you think that is offensive to some people, though? I mean, I don't know if it's that what you're talking about. To me, that sounds like the positive side of being a man. But I mean, I got to believe that there's a line that's crossed, and it's not that. It's something beyond that, where it's like, abuse of power, or something along those lines. Yeah. I mean, it's because I agree with you, and that's what it is to be a man, is a lot of those things that it does take kind of a masculine nature, I think, to perform. But I think there is a line that some cross over and become a little bit.
I guess the problem I have is that language creates culture.
Yeah, that's
So
dope.
when you
That's
begin-
dope. Say that again.
Language creates culture. So
dope.
when
That's
so when
dope.
you're introducing something, some language into a culture, it's adopted, then it begins to almost take a life of its own. I think that's a lot of what's happened with this terminology. Toxic masculinity. Or now there's some people doing the converse, toxic femininity. It's like it's kind of silly.
Yeah. Well, there's an agenda.
No, and I mean, I think so, but I don't think it's necessarily a conspiracy from people. I'm a pastor, right? So I have a business, but I'm also a pastor. So I look at things from a very spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that darkness wants to emasculate noble, godly men to disempower them from being the positive actors in society. So what has happened to a lot of really good men in society? They're still working, they're still showing up, they're still doing their job, but what aren't they doing? They aren't speaking.
But are they working?
They're often not speaking up. They're often taking more of a diminished role. They're often not stepping up into the limelight to be leaders. Why? Because anytime they do, they're afraid they're going to be kind of ostracized or canceled, or their business taken away from them.
That's deep.
And what happens when you have good men that are silenced, good men that are pushed aside? Well, what do you have in our culture right now? You have all the crazy shootings, all the statistics in our culture that are about our culture, about the brokenness of humanity, just exposed.
Preach it, bro.
So I ain't trying to preach. I'm just trying to So
Makes
that's
sense,
why,
man.
so the idea of language creating culture, I think the conspiracy is actually just darkness that trying to pigeonhole good men or silence them and allow all the crazy junk to go on, that where fathers can't really speak up the way they need to speak up.
Can you think back to, a time like when this started, or was it a gradual thing, or was there a certain turning point?
Like toxic masculinity?
Yeah, like when this term
As a
started.
term?
Yeah.
Well, I think so. Again, I'm not thinking from this term. I'm thinking from when the whole thing started happening, and I think it starts kind of in the '60s, right? So you had this whole revolution that happened.
Lead up activity,
right?
slowly trickling.
But then
now
it goes into culture. So now, like, think about in the last 20, 30 years, like a TV show that actually had a positive man. That was actually a good role model. There's very few.
Oh, you gotta go.
They're
way
all
back.
morons. Even the
You gotta
commercials.
go way back.
All the dads are stupid. They're idiots. They're aggressive. They're aggro, crazy.
They
They're
can't
drunks.
clean up or take care of themselves.
No,
yeah.
absolutely.
Even
I say that all the time.
Eddie Munster was a good dad.
Yeah. So
Herman
you think
Munster.
with
Herman
the
Munster.
empowerment of women over the course of the years, you think that kind of
Not the empowerment of women, because I think good men empower women.
Yeah, absolutely.
true?
Right? So I think man, I'm saying a lot.
You
Go.
blowing up, boy.
Go.
You blowing up.
No, I'm just saying, like,
We can edit all this out later.
So there's the feminist movement in
Okay.
by and large that
Now,
started.
here we go.
Right?
I like
I
it.
think it was super healthy to help women get a right of voice, a right to vote, all the really great things that they needed. But then I think there's a wing that was like
radical.
I had to tear men down in order to elevate women.
Right.
And I think whenever we have that kind of juxtaposed connection, it's a problem. And so I think we need to honor and elevate women. And men need to honor, women need to honor and elevate men, and we work together, right? We parent together, we serve in our communities together. So I don't know if it's the elevation of women. I just think it's the elevation of this, I guess, a perversion of the feminist movement that now has to tear down men in order to elevate women.
Well, and I think let's face it too. I mean, with social media, I mean, it doesn't have to be the majority of people that are saying this and creating this. I mean, it could be a small,
And you're
fraction
right,
of people that kind of start that conversation, and then you can find, again, through social media, you can find plenty of examples, right? Of, whether it's professional athletes, like domestic abuse. I mean, there's plenty of things you can look at and say, look, here's an example of it, and make it sound like it's more of a widespread problem
Yeah.
than it is. But yeah, I think that's interesting, the whole evolution of it. Like you said, you can take the word out of it because those phrases. I mean, it's all just kind of cultural. It comes and goes and whatever. But I mean, I think that you look at this kind of like almost like an overcorrection again of of
Yeah.
what it means to be a man.
And straight up, like what has happened in our culture with the removal of these good men, right? Or the silencing of them, or the tearing down of manhood. You got boys don't even know if they're boys or not. Right?
Right.
Girls don't even know if they're girls or not.
No.
You got confusion in ways that, okay, listen, I mean, this stuff is not normative,
It's the same group.
right? It's not normative.
No.
So, but it's becoming more prevalent, and then you have all the other things that are going on in our culture that's gotten sicker, not healthier. I mean, that for me is a question mark.
Right.
And so,
So do you? I mean, it sounds like you're saying that kind of like everything that's going on in our culture right now that you look at as whether it's divisiveness, breakdown of the family. I mean, everything that's kind of going on can kind of be related back to this in some way.
I would say in a large part. I can't say everything.
So, but it started there.
But in a large
it's been
part.
getting more and more in heat, more and more aggressive, more intensity. Like you said, with social media, in the music, in the sports, it's
that snowball
it's
effect.
everywhere. It's everywhere. So, guys, what is the solution? What is the solution to this?
What do you think?
Yeah,
I think somebody
I
needs
want
to
to
come
hear
up
from
with.
the man with
I
the
think-
plan in the
I
corner.
started listening to this guy, Kevin Samuels. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy.
I have heard of him.
This guy kind of like explains how women, it starts in school. Guys know that they have to make a certain amount of money to feel like a man, to take care of their family and stuff like that. And it's because there's more empowerment for the women now. It's kind of demasculated. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a word.
The
Sure.
men.
I get it.
And he was talking about how in the 70s or in the 60s, there was a lot of corporations, and a lot of men were employed, and then they started taking the companies out of the city, and guys started becoming more unemployed, and they would have to move, and it became single-family homes.
Yeah.
And so,
Sounds like today.
yeah, so it kind of, I don't know, it kind of demasculated,
Yeah, I think
man.
that's. I mean, I think you're talking about
Right.
some of the, the correlation of some of the things that have gone on in the process.
right.
But like, what would you say in terms of a solution or ways to,
I think
how do we
I
shift
think
this?
4 really sharp guys need to have a podcast. And talk about
There
it.
you go.
That's where it starts. And Cass.
So,
I don't know if I qualify.
so what do I think,
Yeah,
Yeah,
like as far as
it's gonna make this go away.
turn it around.
Turn it around.
getting guys on some hormone therapy?
I like that.
There's a segue
I
right
love
there.
that.
There's a
Yeah, like
segue.
men being men.
Fusion
Yeah.
regenerative
But-
therapies up in here.
But the other
less
part,
and less testosterone. Is
You know,
causing-
I mean, one thing I would say, and kind of to that point, it's like men typically don't do a lot of personal development. They don't do a lot of, looking at themselves. How can I
Why,
be the
though?
best person?
Why do you think that is?
I mean, it's just the way we are. I mean, it's thing. I mean, guys don't like to ask for
I love
directions. They
personal
don't like to, there's all kinds of things. They don't like to go to the doctor. I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. So I think if,
I must be a weirdo.
yeah,
Well, no,
I
well,
love
mean,
all that.
you
we
are
don't
a
have
weirdo.
we don't have hills anymore.
But I appreciate that. You
We need
have
a
to
hill
do
to
that.
climb. You need a war to fight, right?
Yeah.
You need a goal to attain.
Yeah.
And in our culture, we've diminished a lot of that. And in just our civilization, technology, and a lot of that drive, we have to
a good point.
shift. What our aspirations are. And I think men need that. And so having
point.
ambition in a healthy way is something that will move us towards development.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you create ambition when you don't have to get off the couch to do anything nowadays? How do you do that?
Well, you got to create a goal. You have to have. I'm a personal trainer, so I tell guys all the time, you could want to look a certain way, but if you don't have that drive to do it,
Yeah.
you have to make little goals. So if you want to lose, say like you want to lose 50 pounds, let's start 1 pound a day. just set small goals and then work towards a big goal. You know.
Hey man,
Yeah.
you're pretty swole over there. You related to Kevin LeBron? You look like Kevin LeBron.
People tell me I look like
you
Kevin
look like
LeBron.
LeBron.
People tell me I do.
Oh really?
Yeah, a lot.
Are you sure you're not related?
Baby Levroni. That's what they call me. Baby Levroni.
Yeah.
But Kevin LeBron was a massive bodybuilder. But lost my voice. So once again, you guys, when they get a certain age, they just wave that surrender flag, you know. And I tell guys all the time, look, you know, women go out, get their hair colored, go get the boobs done, do stuff to make yourself look presentable. Girls work out more. If you go to any gym, you always see either big bodybuilders, younger guys, or you don't see a lot of older guys in there. You see a lot of women.
You'll see me there.
Yeah.
I'm an older
You know.
guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, women keep up with themselves, and then guys, they just seem to wave that flag. So, so I get guys that come to me all the time asking me about testosterone. What do I got to do? I'm losing my energy. My libido's not there.
This is a really good topic here too, because it does tie right back to what we started talking about in that whole motivation of men. Like, what is going on? Why are men losing motivation? And is it disillusionment? Is it just stress and pressure? Is it what is it? I don't know. There's so
It's
much.
multifaceted, I believe.
Well,
I believe
yeah.
it has to do with the food, the water. Like he says, it's eradicating our hormone system. It has to do with the culture that we live in of not having to really get off the couch to do anything. So we're more prone to be lazy and those kinds of things.
Because I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was just going to keep saying that, single father home or, broken homes and all that kind of stuff. There's not a father figure in the home. It's more prevalent.
That's humongous.
So it's
Yeah.
That's the
Men
biggest,
don't know how to be men.
that's the biggest
They haven't
deal.
been raised by one.
When I grew up, we had the Boys Club, we had Boy Scouts. I learned about all this kind of stuff, and then I don't hear about any of that anymore.
It's still around.
But you know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's
listen,
not very,
I
it's
had,
not very
my
prevalent.
mom and dad were together all growing up. There was 8 of us. My dad had to work all the time. I never saw him. Never went fishing. Never did anything with my dad. I knew he had a role to play. So I was strong enough to I have my own mind. So I was strong enough to take on, hey, I want to do this, and I just set my mind to it, and I did it. Some people don't have the strength. They don't have the, they need guidance.
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the
It's
game
all,
right there. Guidance and mentorship. I'm a big advocate of mentorship. Pete's he's a coach to the Titans, CEOs, the Fortune 100 guys, kind of guy.
Not the Tennessee Titans.
So, and you're a mentor. You're a personal trainer. You're a mentor in your own kind of way.
That would be really cool.
And so I think that's where it's at. And so, but how do you convince these young cats that you got to get some mentors, man?
Yeah.
You got to sharpen your edges.
I don't see. As a kid, I had a very vivid imagination. I grew up watching Arnold Schwarzenegger and those action heroes as a kid, and I just always wanted to emulate, be like that.
Yeah. I also
now
wanna-
it's, kids nowadays don't seem to have that drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I see it.
I think your dad though, because I've heard your story before. I think you, and I could be wrong. I don't want to speak for you. I think you watching your dad get up and hustle and grind every day, even though he was not with you, like Little
Right.
League and all that.
I knew he had a
I
role.
think that it positively affected you because
Absolutely.
I had the same situation. My mom and dad stayed together, God rest their souls, but he was absent for other reasons that were not good. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it affected me negatively. So I think there's some value in that.
Yeah.
In that, what I'm trying to say is the petri dish that you're raised in and that you grow up in. There's it can go this way or it can go that way. And it's not that every time that you have that, it's going to turn out positive, or you have mine, it's going to turn out negative. But for the most part, having a male figure there is where it's at.
Yeah.
But strength is, but when you look in, okay, again, pastor guy here, right? So in the Bible, you see these in scripture, like spirituality was led by men. And in a lot of our culture today, spirituality is often led by women, or they're playing a larger role, not because they're that they're doing anything different, except that men are just retreating from spirituality, and in particular, growing in their faith. And I think, when you're disconnected from a natural father, that's one thing. When you're disconnected from your spiritual father, that's an entirely another level of disconnect. You lose your sense of identity and worth and value and drive and focus and purpose. Like it's so critical that people understand that how they can have a real friendship with God, a relationship, and develop themselves spiritually. And I think, this is on me, that is the foundation of all the other pieces. So health issues, are often tied to spiritual issues, emotional issues.
Oh, yeah.
Relational stuff is all
That's why
interlinked.
we do what we do at Fusion
Absolutely.
Regenerative Therapies, body, mind, and
ties in.
spirit. And I appreciate you saying spirit. And so, you can leave that to wherever you want to leave that with, but you have to cultivate your spirit. However you do that, you have to put as much attention into your spirit as you do to your mind, as you do to your spirit. It's 3 in 1. And you got to exercise all of those. I call it spiritual fitness.
Well, and it goes back to what I said.
You got to have a coach.
What I said earlier is that men need to do more work on themselves. Whether and it's all those facets. It's spiritual. It's mental. It's health. It's all those things. We need to take a conscious effort to really work on ourselves, and it starts with looking inside. And I think once you start kind of that journey, I think you'll find some things that you get more motivated to do. I just think it's like a natural occurrence, because I think a lot of guys are just kind of wandering around aimlessly with no direction, and then you have no motivation at that point.
I like that point. I think, there's this thing called man in the mirror. It's kind of like a leadership thing, right?
Michael Jackson. So.
No.
There's that too. And they both fly too. They're both hot.
Do you want me to?
Actually, I like that song.
Do you want me to sing it?
Love that.
But I think
Oh,
it's
you're gonna go for it.
more,
I wasn't gonna do that.
more intimidating, more scary, more fearful, which is the root of all trepidation, to look in the mirror for men nowadays. You know what I mean? I just think there's so much societal stuff going on that we were talking about, this toxicity. It's a little more scary today to look in the mirror as a man than it is before.
Well, I think even more so metaphorically. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about physically looking in the mirror. It's kind of funny. I remember my dad,
That
he
too.
passed away years ago, but one of the things he used to do as he got older was unscrew some of the bulbs in the bathroom mirror so that he wouldn't see himself so so well lit.
Yeah,
But
see all the details.
yeah, but I think metaphorically, I think you're talking about looking in the mirror. That's what I'm saying, is that that's kind of the first step. You need to take inventory of what you've done, who you are, what you want to become.
So how does that happen?
But what I'm saying is it's becoming more scary to do that.
I'll tell you.
Because we got to turn this off.
It's fear.
You got to get alone.
If you went to a doctor, that's the only time I notice people get off their ass, is if they go to a doctor and the doctor tells them, hey, you're
going to die unless you do
diabetic.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to die unless you go do this. That's when people call me up, and I know it's only going to last for a few months. Yeah. But if they're told, so people respond to fear. That's the only time they get off their ass.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, is that we'd like to think that there's like some kind of noble, calling, that we all of a sudden we become, these, get on this journey to become a great person. But typically it takes fear, pain, something to knock us out of our
comfort
zombie, state that creates this desire to really be something different, a different person.
Exactly.
I don't know who said it, but it's a great
I just
quote.
did.
No, not that.
Not that.
No, it's not until the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of change that we change.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that was Michael Jackson.
I call that
too.
the gift of desperation. What I call that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And it is a gift.
Yeah, and you can stop that elevator anytime you want. DUI, jail, divorce, some kind of diagnosis. And sometimes people got to have 3 or 4 of those before they wake up and smell their coffee. You know what I'm saying?
People just get comfortable. They get comfortable. When people get married and then they start getting, you notice they start gaining weight and getting fat, they stop caring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now that we've proved that we're interesting enough and we got off the chart IQs and all this
off the
stuff.
chart, maybe the wrong way.
Let me introduce you to the squad here. We got Sam Butler, personal trainer extraordinaire. We got Pete Sackle, Titan coach to.
I don't know where this Titan thing came from. Did you just write that for me?
I made that up
Marketing.
because I would just want to differentiate you. You are a business coach. You are a high caliber business coach, and you coach people to be Titans. How do you like that?
I like that.
Huh?
Yeah, I like that.
That's a good look.
You like that?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure you like it, bro.
T-shirts.
And then we got my man over here, Victor Montalvo extraordinaire.
Montalvo.
Montalvo.
Montalvo. Yeah.
So is that from Cuba?
I'm Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican?
Good guess.
From the
Good
Bronx,
guess.
so
Good guess.
I'm New Rican. I'm from the Bronx.
We love you. We love you, bro.
Well, I appreciate that. I love you too, man. Yeah,
That
it's
sounded like
Anyway.
we love you even though.
yeah, no, it totally did. It's all right. It's all right.
Montalvo Marketing.
Montalvo.
Montalvo Marketing. Pastor extraordinaire.
Yeah.
And then I am your host. We got Casper, the non-toxic ghost in the back, driving this boat.
Casper.
Thank you, Casper, for doing what you do. We are at Fast. Is that right?
First.
First.
Montalvo.
We're gonna work on your Englishing.
Okay, look, I got a GED. I didn't get hooked on phonics. I got ripped off as a kid. Y'all give me some slack. But anyway, we got
Doing good, brother.
You're doing all right,
And
man.
then my name is Chris Mays. I'm the Buffalo in the room. I'm with Fusion Regenerative Therapies, where we work with people in maximizing, optimizing their body, mind, and spirit. And we're here to talk about non-toxic masculinity.
He is not just with Fusion. He is the CEO and founder of Fusion.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah. Calls
all
me,
right.
a, calls
It's
me
all
a
right.
Titan. I'm going to give him a CEO.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. So, Butler,
Yes, sir.
you're a master fitness trainer. Let's discuss a little bit about just this fitness industry in the direction it's going, especially in now that hormone clinics are popping up all over the place.
Popping up all over.
PEDs.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
All that stuff.
Yep.
Peptides. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Even bodybuilding, the game is changing, right? So
It's changed a lot.
So what do you think about where it's
All sounds very manly.
where it's going? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I notice it's going in a good direction simply because I remember when I first started, guys had to get steroid. They called it steroids, basically underground. You know, so
What does that mean?
Now-
What do you mean underground?
underground is black market. Guys making it or getting
yeah.
it from Mexico or
Yeah.
you know, you don't know who made it. Yeah. So
Bathtub steroids.
now
bathtub
people
gin.
with the hormone clinics popping up everywhere, you know, guys can actually get their blood work done, get monitored. You know you're taking the right amount because when you take a lot of high testosterone, it ends up bringing your blood pressure up. All your readings are off the chart. I remember my trainer used to tell me, "You're going to take, your steroids, but when you go to the doctor, he's going to tell you you're dying, basically, just off of your readings." I was like, "What the hell does that mean?"
Don't worry about that. Just,
Yeah, don't worry about that. Just keep training and eating like a bull. So I would do that. I would go shoot massive amounts of testosterone, not knowing what it was doing to my body. You know, so and then going from that to eating, you know, they just basically told you to eat a lot. I ate 8 meals a day, big giant bowls of rice, chicken. Long story short, ended up leading to me having type 2 diabetes because I ate so much. I got to 230 pounds. I'm 5'7".
Yeah, LeBron.
So I was huge, a huge bodybuilder.
That's big.
And I stopped just in time. A lot of guys that I knew have kidney problems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was all because of that. We didn't have hormone therapy back then.
I was
We
going to
didn't
say,
have-
testosterone is different than the steroids, right? I mean, there was.
it's basically it's testosterone. It's basically the same thing.
Is that right?
It is
Okay.
a steroid.
It is, yeah.
Classification of a compound.
Yeah, it's
Steroid-
just-
anabolic steroids.
Anabolic agent.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, but like with all the energy drinks and all the supplement companies coming up, you know, the landscape of the fitness industry, all these gyms popping up everywhere.
It's definitely become more popular, and people are more aware. And, I mean, like I said, before there was only a few gyms around. Now everything is so prevalent. So there's so many hormone clinics are popping up like 7-Elevens.
But do you
all over
think
the
people
place.
are working out for the right reasons?
Everybody wants to look good. Everybody wants to look good. And I tell guys all the time. Guys would come up to me, "Hey man, where can I get testosterone?" I said, "Are you playing professional football? Are you a bodybuilder, competitive body? Don't just take it, just to be big, because people,
Or
like I
because,
said,
or because Victor's taking it.
yeah, or because Vic's taking it. You know?
I'm the guy
So
taking it.
you know, everybody
Don't be
wants to
just
look
taking
good.
it because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, you know, like
so
I said,
ripped.
All the cool kids are
you're
doing
not
it.
going to run across one person that doesn't want to have a 6-pack abs. Like, everybody wants to look good,
Right.
you know? And everybody wants that shortcut.
You mean a dad bod don't look good?
To some people,
Well, yeah, what's up with that?
right?
Huh?
So
I got some chunk.
chunk is good. Some girls like that.
Oh, okay. We
Some
good.
girls like that.
you-
That's where the
you know,
dad bod came from.
Well, you know what's interesting? I mean, it's like, again, with social media, you get bombarded, right, with everybody's opinion
Yeah.
Yeah.
about what to
That's-
do,
yeah.
what
What
kind of
diet is the
workout, what to
best.
eat, what not to eat.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
you know,
definitely affected the
vegetables are bad,
independence
you know,
and- yeah.
water's
Macros,
bad,
no
you know,
macros, all
this
that shit.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling
Yeah.
when you go through all this. And I think, you know, what you're doing, it seems like it's
What do you mean what I'm doing?
what you're doing in your practice, your company at Fusion is more targeted, right, towards the individuals. I mean,
I was actually going to say that. I was going to talk about how it's like it's customized to actually their DNA, their type, their
Very,
everything.
very
So-
customizable.
were you
That's the
really
good
going to
thing
say
about
that,
it.
or was it just because I said it? And you,
Yeah, no, I really was. I was going to point it out to it because I think you were bringing some good points. But go ahead, champ.
No, go ahead.
You're,
No,
you're
no.
the Titan.
No, if you were going to say
Yeah,
it,
you're
you
the
go,
Titan, man.
You
You're the
go
Titan.
ahead. I don't want
We
to
got
get
some
you know.
tension over here.
Go ahead.
Hey, so that's the good thing about the hormone clinics. These guys can take your reading, know exactly what your body needs.
Yeah, we call it optimization.
Optimization, hormone
Yeah,
optimization.
we're not doing bodybuilding.
Right.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Exactly.
Well-
I don't even do bodybuilding anymore.
Well, and the other thing, you know, you and I talked about at one point too, Chris, was the fact that, you know, you go to a doctor and you get, you know, a traditional healthcare doctor, you get your numbers for testosterone, let's say, and he might say something like, you know, well, that's good for your age.
Yeah.
You know, but
Exactly.
it's like, you know, it's 3. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it might be good for my age or whatever, but it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be that
That's
way.
why they
I mean,
send you to a specialist. So
Well, even,
immediately,
Well,
even
when
an
you went-
endocrinologist is going to do the same thing, and that's why I advocate to see a functional medicine practitioner because we're more inclined to treat symptoms.
exactly.
So he might be running comfortably at 600 and have full function, you know, mind, clarity, sleep, libido, all that, where he might need 900.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so
Exactly.
that's why I advocate for fusion regenerative therapies in Orlando.
No plug.
to which you're the
that
CEO
address?
of.
But in seriousness, it's a big deal. you
No,
know?
it is a really big deal because you can really mess yourself up. And then, you know, a lot of clinics are doing package deals where you get one of everything for the sake of making a mighty dollar. And so, you know,
So like the
we
one-stop
get
shop.
we get a lot of patients, you know, that we have to unwind,
Right.
redirect. So we're very grateful for that. But so everybody is a fitness expert now. If you look on Instagram, you know what I'm saying.
yeah.
So kind of going to what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's like I say, it's just, you know,
They
who do
do
you,
one
who do you listen
bodybuilding show and
to?
they think they know everything
Yeah.
about everything, right?
Yeah,
Drives me nuts.
it's almost like
me
you have to
too.
just like pick one and like, you know, go for it and try it. But it is. I mean, it's so specific to your body type, your, you know, what you need nutritionally, all those things. You know, your chemical composition, all that stuff. I mean,
Blood
it's
type, you know, body type.
But back to what you were saying, it's so surprising that guys don't. I know so many guys right now, they're in their late 30s, that don't even have a primary doctor. Never had their blood work done.
Right.
Don't know where their testosterone levels
Oh
are.
yeah. Well, it goes back to guys don't like to ask for help. They don't like to seek help,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
I mean, it's across the board on
Yep.
you know, and that's why I say I go back to that again. But it's like that's a big part of I think what we're talking about is that awareness of, you know, you can't just do it on your own. I think
No.
you know that's some of that maybe that machismo too
Yeah.
that kind of gets twisted.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so for me, like I was that guy. So I was in my 30s, didn't have a primary doctor, but it wasn't because I wasn't looking for help. It was because I felt invincible,
Oh yeah.
No,
We all do.
and I was wasn't. But because everything would seem right, I was all right.
And that's the
you know?
thing. Yeah.
And
Self-diagnosis.
I didn't realize that my health was in a really bad decline, and I came to grips with it. You know, like I was like 38 when I started this process on my own. I lost like 70 pounds. You know,
Well, again, it gets to a point where you need pain or something
Yeah.
to snap you out of you know
Yeah.
what you've been doing and try and do something
no doubt,
else. So-
absolutely.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't just natural; it was also spiritual. Like God was challenging me about stuff that was going on inside my own heart, my own mind. And I don't think we don't pay enough attention to what's going on between the ears.
Oh yeah.
And what's going,
really
where
important.
where this stuff is coming from. You know, why do we have these habits that we have?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we allow these patterns in our life? Why do we make room for that? Why do we have these toxic behaviors or secret, kind of hidden stuff that we don't really address? And if you're going to be holistic, right, healthy in every way, then you're going to have to deal with some of those questions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even
all of those questions.
Even to ask those questions, even to be aware enough to ask those questions and contemplate, those things. I mean, it took me a long time. I mean, I'm 60. I know that's hard to believe.
What?
Yeah.
You're 60?
No way.
Bro.
But
40,
just,
40.
I mean, it's just a
48.
few years
We did
ago.
it there.
48? I was just kidding. I'm 47. Hey,
We did an age reduction on him.
yeah, see, that's just the work that Chris has done.
Into the
But no, you get to a point where it's like, you really start taking stock in, like I say, and looking at your life, what's going on, and it goes back, take ownership of it, but then look for ways to make improvements. But yeah, it's the whole journey thing.
But you need the right people in your life.
I want to ask you guys a question. So at Fusion Regenerative Therapies, I named it the clinic Fusion because the idea was to fuse the body, the mind, and the spirit into one holistic person, right? So that's what we aim to do. So when a patient or client comes in the doors or on the phone, we do telemedicine, we look at the whole person. So we ask a lot of questions, a lot of questionnaires. I want to ask you guys, so when you guys are working with your clients, do you look at the whole person or you just look at them from a business coaching or from a pastoral or from a personal training body mindset? Do you look at your client holistically and see maybe
Yes.
they're not getting their goals because
Yes.
their spirit's jacked or
Yep.
because their body is jacked, their finances are jacked. You know what I mean? Do you guys
First
do that?
thing I ask them is mentally. Like, you have to be mentally sound. When somebody comes to me, wants me to train them, I'm like, how serious are you? First of all, I'm not just going to write a diet and then I don't hear from you.
Right.
Because that's what happens,
Well, what do you do if they say no?
If they say no,
Come back.
I'm not a stress
then
ball.
don't waste my time.
Yeah, come back when you're
Okay.
But the thing is, they're not gonna say that, right?
Yeah, they're not gonna say that.
They've been lying to themselves for so
Right.
long.
Yeah, man, I'm
And
ready
when
to
they
go,
come
I'm ready.
To us,
Yeah.
that they're just spewing the lies that they've been telling themselves. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the best at self-delusion.
But there
Yep.
are some people that
That's
do
right,
sign
that's
up
right.
for personal training that know that they need to do it. They force them to do it, but they're just mentally, spiritually not there. And I was just
That's
asking,
Yeah.
the thing.
like, do you refer those out to like maybe a business coach or to a? Do you do that?
They have to get their stuff in order
Yeah,
before they come to me.
yeah, I
Yeah.
respect
Because
that. I respect-
otherwise, I'm wasting my time. You know what I mean?
and you're not doing them any favors either.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
it
it's
goes
very
back to
admirable.
it's the mindset thing, and it's interesting. So, I'm a business coach, as you've said many times.
To the
at
Titans.
Titans.
To the Titans.
And it was interesting because I kind of started this iteration of business coaching because I was really heavily consuming a lot of stuff in the personal development space. The Tony Robbins, Ed Mylett, those guys listen to podcasts, read books, and everything. I got really interested in that, and I was like, I want to get into coaching. I found this software that literally you can show a business owner like how to double their profits in 6 months. I mean, so I thought that would be the lead, right? For any business owner, it's like, so
No brainer.
yeah, it comes to now going out there and then talking to clients. And I happen to work with mostly men that are over 40 years old who are successful, but want to kind of get to the next level. So I thought I'd go in there, okay, let's talk about profitability and how to optimize that and all your business things and everything. Every single person I started talking to, it was at least the first few sessions we were talking about mindset issues.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they said, "Oh, I want to work on my mindset."
Right.
It was like, well, I can't find anybody that's can do this job as good as I can, so I can't grow. It's like, that's a limiting belief. So I mean,
Yeah.
Was it all fear based? You think?
yes, absolutely.
exactly.
All
Yeah.
that stuff is fear-based.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
because this person, very successful restaurant owner, a history of like thousands of employees, hundreds of restaurants, and he's having trouble scaling right now because it's a fear-based thing where he doesn't want to. His thing was, well, I can't find anybody that's going to care enough or care as much about my restaurant as I do.
Yeah.
And I told him, it's like,
That's never gonna
you're not
happen.
going to. Yeah.
It's never gonna happen, bro.
And I gave the example of like when your kids were small, you took them to daycare, right? It's like they did a good job, took care of your kids, you trusted them. Maybe they even loved them. But did they feel the same way about your kids that you do?
Ooh, that's solid, bro. I like that.
Absolutely not. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's like the first realization is like right there. But yeah, but it's all like limiting beliefs that, keep guys. And I think that maybe goes back to what we were talking about before with motivation,
Right.
with the fear and all that stuff. I mean, it keeps you from wanting to get to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a fear of failure, fear of
Right.
looking stupid, a fear, whatever it is. I mean, it's definitely fear based.
Absolutely.
And it's cultural, man, because we have so much of that. Like
Well, the cult.
set that tone where oftentimes men we don't really even have a language
Right.
in our culture for these kinds of issues, or we have the culture is always to show how strong we are, how great we are, and it's not really to say, hey, I've got these things going on, but man, I'm really struggling with this. This
Yeah.
would actually help me get to
Here's
the next
my
level.
weakness.
Yeah,
This is
and
where I need help.
And it's that vulnerability. I mean, it's
Yeah.
to be able to
Absolutely.
admit that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So that's what we aim to do with this podcast and with coming together here is kind of just put it out there to men and women. We're not preferential on that, even though the name of the show is what it is that, hey, you got to level up. If you want to level up, you got to have mentorships. You got to have
100%.
accountability. You
Yeah.
got to have coaches.
and you got to think holistically.
And you got to think holistically. Absolutely. And
Well,
so
and-
whatever that looks like for you.
To that point, too, like you said, men or women. I think women will get a lot out of this. Just to kind of like if
They
nothing
deal with
else.
men.
Yeah. If nothing else, to kind of know what,
Pablo.
Oh yeah.
get a look inside the mind, I guess. But
So you think the influencers, there's a group of influencers that are creating some of this toxicity?
It goes back to having a strong mind. Like, I don't care what any other person's doing on
But do you think
Instagram
those
or-
people that are doing, the stuff that we're talking about here are creating the toxicity?
I mean, they're putting it out there.
Yeah.
But it's not affecting me as a person.
But do you think it's like we talking about non-toxic masculinity or toxic masculinity, and where is this coming from? Do you think that could be part of the cause?
Possibility, yeah.
What do
It's
you
not.
think?
It doesn't affect me. So I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think there's personalities out there on any subject you want to talk about that creates divisiveness. I mean, because that's what creates viewership and people listen to. I mean, that's all that controversial things that people say. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
brings in viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
So there's a opportunity for a lot of those people to perpetuate some of these things too. So they'll catch on to a certain wave maybe, and hey, yeah, let me ride that wave a little bit and do that and say those things and create that kind of conflict,
Yeah.
in the culture. I think.
Pastor, you go on social media much?
I do.
Yeah. So what do you think then?
Yeah, I think social media is a double-edged sword. So I think it can be fantastic, I think the ability that people have to share their thoughts and insights and experiences and relate is awesome, but then I also think obviously gets abused.
yeah.
And I
Like-
think
but
the
like-
threshold, like the threshold for an expert level is diminished, right? So now anyone can, so I have a marketing business, so we do digital marketing, and so like you have throw up some lights, a green screen, and a microphone, and you can use an iPhone or Android, whatever, any new modern camera, and you can make a set. You can look like an expert.
Yeah.
For
Absolutely.
cheap.
It's true.
And so the threshold for that appearance of being an expert is so low, and we've gotten to a as a culture where we don't even know what research really is anymore. Like we don't.
No.
So we're just getting spoon fed because that's what we're taught in our modern education system. Just to you just regurgitate the information that the
Yeah.
government speaks to you. in the
Somebody will
government system.
post something.
Yeah.
It's totally fake, and then somebody else will repost it, and it becomes.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot
it
of lies get
becomes
perpetuated like
real.
that, and so I think we got to be able to know the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We see that a
and,
lot in the
yeah.
clinic. The
Expose the
bro
wolves,
science. We have to bat a lot of that down in the clinic. I'm sure you do in your business.
Oh my
and-
goodness, yeah.
What's really scary in that area too is AI and what that is
Oh,
going to be able to do.
yeah.
That's going to be able to do in the future.
Oh, man,
I mean,
yeah.
that'll make you like
Nah,
Yeah.
man,
it could show you,
serious.
Victor, like climbing a building or I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you
just
can
crazy.
really
what
do
it
that
is.
now.
I don't know why I just thought of that.
I don't
You
know, I
climbing
feel
a
like
building,
Spider-Man.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Montalo.
Did you say Montalvo? Yeah.
Montavolo, that's what he said. David Montavolo. I don't know what that is.
Montalvo, is that Mount something? Mountain?
That's actually, yeah,
Tavo
it
Mountain?
actually is, it is a mountain, yeah.
Yeah. see.
Wow.
I went to Puerto Rico recently.
You did. I haven't
was
been
awesome.
since I was a young child.
I was there in
We're planning to
January.
make a trip this summer.
We went to where the castles were. Was
Oh, man.
in San Juan. San Juan.
Okay, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
can't
right
wait
on
to
the
go
water.
back.
Yeah, that one castle. You walk that like
Yeah.
that
it's
big
real-
grass
yeah,
kind of bridge
yeah.
thing that goes up over there.
Beautiful place, man.
Yeah, all
forget
the
what it's called.
Latinos watching, they're like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
I haven't been since I was a little kid, man. I just
Oh, you haven't been back there? Yeah.
No, I haven't been back there.
Haven't
since
been
I was a
back
kid.
to the island.
Yeah, we our family did a big trip. I don't know, like 10 years ago, and I was
Yeah.
tied up. I couldn't go, and so I haven't. So we're planning one this
To
summer.
go back, yeah.
Yeah. So all I've seen is pictures and video from
Yeah.
family stuff,
Yeah.
and so I can't wait. Yeah, but I heard that all the storms have really jacked up the
Oh,
place a
yeah.
little bit.
A
So
lot of stuff is messed
yeah,
up.
there's some really like historic things that have changed too. I'm like, when stuff happens like that, it's like
Yeah.
I missed it.
I
I didn't
didn't
get to see it.
I couldn't believe like all the history like it was there. It was just like a
Yeah.
big museum, the whole
Yeah.
country, you know.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Castles, the two castles right next to each
Yep.
Boricua.
other. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like it.
What's
But,
your background?
Black and Irish?
Black and Irish.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you
Nice.
meant by that question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Background?
Yeah.
What did you take that to mean?
I just
I
automatically
just
know
want
that.
to know,
'cause-
like,
Because we were talking like
people-
me being Puerto Rican, it's kind of easy to
Yeah.
figure
Yeah,
out.
I guess
Well,
that's the segue there. Because yeah, you could have gone either way. It's like
I could- yeah.
you're Irish, bro.
Black and Irish, baby.
black and Irish.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm kind of like a mutt. I'm
I
German
think we're all
and
mutts.
Czechoslovakian. And,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Couple
you
other
know,
things in
so
there.
Boki Radulovic.
Yeah, I can't even say his last name.
Yeah, Radulovic.
Who's
But
that?
that's not even his real name. That's just his nickname.
Yeah, I don't know what his real name is.
he chose that as his nickname.
Yeah.
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 They call him Boki, yeah.
Because he was tired of hearing his name slaughtered.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, hey, no,
Well,
that
maybe you
was
should
like-
change your name
Yeah, maybe I
Yeah.
should.
to Montal
Change it from
Talvo.
It's a mountain. I'm just saying mountain. Victor Mountain.
Yeah.
The Mo. So you Mo.
No, I
Hey,
ain't doing
Mo.
that. I ain't doing that.
But yeah, you guys want to play a game? I got this
Let's
game.
go.
You want to play?
Let's go.
So what is it?
I don't know. You
It's
can-
called Fact or Whack.
Fact,
Fact
or
or
whack?
whack?
Fact or Whack. You
that
ready?
kind of sounds
Let's do it.
terrifying. but okay, we'll try it.
What do we?
You can do it. You ready? I'm
Yeah.
going to bring up some subjects. You say fact or whack.
Okay.
And
They go all at the
whoever
same time, or do we go around and?
Round the time, I'm going to call names.
All right.
All right, ready?
Okay.
Just want to make sure I know the
What
rules.
we got? What are we doing? Like we talking about like DeSantis? Like
No. These are going to be health related topics. Ready?
Let's go.
Pete,
Yes, Chris.
spot
I am
reduction.
ready.
Spot reduction. I want to reduce my inner tube around my waist. Fact or whack?
That it can be done? Is that the
It
question?
can be done. That you can spot reduce.
You cannot, and I know that for a fact because
Fact or whack?
whack. I guess right is the answer.
Yeah.
Whack. Okay.
Because
I don't know if you remember back in the '80s, they had those what do they call them, solar belts?
Richard's.
Oh, yeah. Shaky.
No, well that was like the 20s.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
No, no,
chiropractor
no.
has a
No.
machine like that, right?
Well,
Hey,
first
no.
of all, Chris.
Wait a minute, time out.
First of all, don't ever
True
do that
story.
again.
YMCA had one. I got my little scrawny butt stuck in that thing and they had to call the fire department to get me
Okay,
out.
you
You're
got.
lying.
I promise.
First
That
guy.
doesn't sound like a scrawny butt, dude. That's like a Puerto Rican butt.
Hold on. First of all, you guys are talking about like the machine from the 20s. I think like the Addams family used, and I'm talking about the it was called like a solar belt or something.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a blue thing with Velcro.
Yeah.
Went right around your right around here and just basically sweat.
It was just what it.
Waist train. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like one of the
I mean-
very first waist trainers.
Was it
Somebody-
waist trainer was that what it was called? But yeah, and it didn't work.
Fact or whack?
Yeah,
It was so I say whacked.
Montalvo.
I don't know. So yeah.
You don't know?
So like, can you choose a part of your body and
Like
and
we get a
lose
lot
weight
of
and-
women say, come in, they want to lose the flab on the back of their arm.
So you're saying for fat loss? That's a good.
Yeah.
That's an important
Yeah.
distinction.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, for
I
fat.
mean,
This is
there's
specifically for
obviously
fat loss.
some things you can do to certain parts of the body to train certain things to work your triceps or whatever else.
This is specific. Thank you, Titan. Specifically about fat reduction. Your body will. You can do something, take something to reduce fat in a particular.
I do not think so. No, that doesn't make sense.
So that would be whack.
Yeah, whack.
There you go. Like a Puerto Rican boy. Woo-hoo.
That's from the Bronx. You know, like it's whack, yo. That's whack.
We know what Butler's gonna say. He's a pro status.
That's gonna be whack.
Yeah,
It's gonna be whack.
absolutely.
There's
Yeah,
nothing you could take.
Isn't Sam gonna know all the answers to these questions?
There's nothing. There's no
he's a
magic
ringer.
Yeah, we're,
pill.
we're just the regular dudes, right? At
Yeah.
this point, this is
He's
this is
a
above
ringer.
our pay grade. So this is just fun.
Yeah.
We're like
Always
some of y'all.
ask him last.
So whack.
It's way whack, ain't it?
Yeah.
Way whack.
Yeah.
What about
But can you explain something? 'Cause I mean, I mean, like spot reduction. Like I needed a little bit of explanation. I'm guessing some of the people who
We'll
watching.
turn to our resident expert.
Yeah, some of the people
Butler
watching, like for some of this stuff, they may not even know what that is, but they might, So
LeVron will take that.
yeah.
So
What's the next one, I guess, right?
So if someone, let's say someone wanted to lose fat in their triceps, so you're asking if there's a pill or something they can take to,
Or exercise.
Or an exercise.
Or cream.
yeah, there's exercises. you can do.
Meditation.
There's exercises you can do to lose specific areas. You can.
But the exercise, and I had mentioned that
Yeah.
earlier about like working out, but in terms of just losing fat in specific areas.
If you want to lose fat in a specific area, it's mainly cardio. But if you wanted, let's say you wanted to burn fat on your triceps, it could be working out as well. Because you burn fat and build muscle at the same time.
But doesn't cardio like do everything? Like,
Yeah.
doesn't-
Cardio does overall,
right? So
It
it's not
does
spot
overall.
necessarily.
not necessarily.
Yeah. So,
But
so we're
you
still
can.
whack. We're at the whack
It's
level.
still, yeah, it's still whack.
Yeah, still
Yeah.
whack.
It's
Except
whack.
focus,
Because
exercise.
Your body's going to pick where it wants to
Yes.
release fat from.
Yes,
Right.
that's true.
It's not going to be just because you're doing tricep
That's
push
true.
down. Now, you may have the illusion that you're reducing because your muscles are becoming more
Right,
toned.
right.
But,
But it all works together.
scientifically, your body's going to pick fat
I
from
tell people to do it all. Do cardio and weight training at the same time.
Yeah.
That's going to help it burn faster. Because that's true.
Whack,
working
whack,
the muscle.
whack, and whack.
Yes, whack.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all
Whack.
whack.
Hey, what about fad diets?
Fad diets. Everybody's got one.
South
There's
Beach.
not one specific one that does
Fact or whack?
whack.
Why is that?
There's not one specific diet that works better than another. That you just have to get off your ass and work out.
Yeah. What do you say?
Well, it's interesting. I think, fad diets as a whole are not the way to go, I don't think. But I think that there is, you could have it literally, you could be on a diet of just eating bacon and you could lose weight if you did it a certain way. So, but it's not sustainable. And, your other parts of your health and your macronutrients and all that stuff, it's going to suffer. So I think that there's some, again, some validity to it, but in the long run, for total health, then no, fad diets are not.
Is it fact or whack?
Whack.
Whack.
I don't know. I actually I might differ on this, and only because I think sometimes fad diets help people jumpstart a health journey that will get them towards a healthy lifestyle. So they may start with one thing, and then it actually morphs into them being more aware, them learning more.
Yeah.
And
But
so
a
I think-
goal can do that too. Like, hey, I got a cruise coming up in a week. So that could motivate you too to do it.
No, but I'm saying this is a little bit different than that. In that, like, so if I'm not working out or not on a diet at all, and I say, I need to get healthy, and then this thing seems to be working for people and it's popular. I see it on the Good Morning, whatever.
Yeah,
and
that's a
so
good starting-
it might be a good thing to kind of be like a launching point
Kickstart, yeah.
into a kickstart into a health journey. That'd be turn out to be great. However, like fad diets in general, they're not going to bring you to a holistic health.
You could really mess yourself up doing that, though,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The yo-yo thing, because
Yes.
it's not sustainable, or it doesn't fit your genetics, or your blood type, or your goals. And so you may be getting some results immediately, because if you do any kind of modification change, decrease your calories, exercise, you're going to have some results. But
And those fad diets, they're almost all of them are intended to be for short
I
periods
hate
of
the
time.
word diet anyway.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say,
Most
I was
people-
gonna say that about diet because everybody says, "Oh, I'm on a diet." Well, if you eat, you're on a diet.
Yeah.
Right?
I
That's just
say a
what
nutrition
your
plan.
diet is.
Nutrition
Yes.
plan. Die, diet. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, I didn't think you did.
Anybody ever seen there's a TV show. It was on Netflix called What the Health.
I've
What
heard of it.
the
I didn't
health?
see it. No.
I watched that. It opened my eyes completely. I
Is
just
it
saw
a
it.
documentary, a
To
show?
what?
What is it?
It's a
About-
documentary.
About nutrition or
It's about nutrition. It's about how most of America is becoming 1 in 3 people will have diabetes.
Yeah.
Amen. That's true.
It's the food that we eat, and it's that's how I became diabetic, is because all the carbs. I wasn't eating cake, sugary crap. I wasn't eating any of that. It was the big bowls of rice that converts into sugar worse than a cake.
Or just, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. I watched the show, the documentary, and then I found out that steak, even chicken, does the same thing.
How so?
Because you end up developing high cholesterol.
Gluconeogenesis.
You start getting blockage, you know what I mean? And it ends up
Montalvo.
blocking your insulin. So
Yeah.
your body's not producing insulin.
Insulin
like it
resistance,
should.
I think,
Yeah,
is the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You become more insulin resistant with red meat and chicken and stuff like that. So it's not just rice.
Yeah, it depends on a lot of factors though.
Yeah, that seems a little suspect to me.
Yeah, there's a lot
does.
of
I
factors.
mean, what
It
else,
does, but-
what do you eat then? What I mean,
That's the thing. Humans weren't meant to. We're not meat eaters. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
now we're starting
not.
another episode. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh Lord.
Fact or whack?
I love
Fact
that.
or whack?
Cut.
we're
Like
seriously
what?
not meant. All right, I watched Dr. Oz, and this was like
Because he's
15
an
years
authority
ago.
on everything, right?
Because he whacked.
Listen, this guy said if you take a steak, sit it on the kitchen counter, and left it there for a week, that's what it does in your body. Your body doesn't break that down.
That's not true.
You ever notice when you use the bathroom
That's
after
because
eating
what
a
they
big
put.
steak?
That's what they
it's
put
just a
on the
healthy
steak, so it lasts
stinker.
for 29 weeks in the
I
grocery
get
store.
so the quality of the steak is the question in my mind.
Yeah, that's the quality.
So so if you're
more
getting
of that is to the quality in that documentary. I don't know if I didn't watch it, but maybe it didn't mention that the condition of the food nowadays, the soil.
yeah, they're
all
definitely
the
talking about that.
pesticides, the GMO,
Yeah.
even the beef and everything,
Exactly.
the steroids and everything.
Yep.
And the live animals
all
eat
the
crops
gluten,
that they
the gluten
poison.
and stuff
Yeah,
in
so-
food.
Yeah, what they're
Yeah,
feeding the
that's true.
animals. And,
Yeah, that's all whacked. Even the water sources are jacked. I mean, come on now.
It all is.
So,
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go
We're
on to the
doomed.
next fact.
That's
or
so
whack.
depressing.
fact or
Wait, is it-
whack?
So what about the next subject is about high intensity training or overtraining. I don't want to even say overtraining, just high intensity training. You got to do more. You got to more sets, more reps. Sweat harder.
You know,
Push.
as you get older, you learn to take your days off. It's okay to take a day off.
But what about even when you're younger?
When you're younger, you just have that energy.
But is it
I
good?
used to work out 7 days
Is
a
it
week.
fact or whack to do that consistently?
It's whack to do that,
Yeah.
but if you're younger, it doesn't really hurt you.
Okay. All right. What do you
It's-
say?
I'm not sure I understand. So you're saying high intensity exercise, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah. So you know you.
I mean,
if you go to any of these big box gymnasiums, Crunch, the
Like
Sport,
HIIT,
24
something like
hours,
that,
you
I
see
mean-
these kids in there.
Casper
Just
should be on
just going at it. You know, Casper's he's like that. He's just crushing it in.
Doing
Like-
the
like-
HIIT
You
stuff.
talking about like lifting to failure, like all the time?
like
Yeah.
all the time. You know.
Well, I mean, I think everything's
ego
kind of
lifting.
relative. I mean,
I
and
don't-
it's like
It's not good.
what could be high intensity for me is not for Sam. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so. I mean, I think there's a certain range I think your body needs to get to get stronger. You know, you need to exert
Yeah.
a certain amount of effort to get to a certain level of strength, of conditioning, of all that. And I think you could certainly go over the line and get diminishing returns,
Yep.
get injury, get things like
You're
that.
more susceptible to injury.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was actually going to bring up.
Oh, you were going to say that too.
Well, because I did. I was doing. I did CrossFit,
Looking at my notes.
and it was all very technical because all the way they do certain kind of exercises.
Right.
Are you saying we wouldn't understand?
No, I mean I was having a problem.
No.
Yeah, so like the regular dude, right?
Yeah.
Who maybe I played sports in high school and lifted and stuff like that, but I'd never done like Olympic weightlifting and all that stuff. And it was like my first week back lifting weights, and they had me doing these real technical and I remember it was really intense, and I hurt myself. Like
Yeah. I think it's whack they even let you join, knowing that you was really out of shape.
I was really
That's-
Go join Planet Fitness for.
yeah, and I
come
was like,
back
I
and-
need to get in shape before I come here.
That's
you know?
actually what I tell clients that when I look at them and I'm like, when's the last time you went to the doctor you need to get a physical, literally. And I need to find out if you have any issues, you ever have any injuries with your back, then we could start from there. And I start you off on a light program. I don't just throw you in there
Yeah.
just to kill you.
Well, there you
Like,
go.
wow, this guy kicked my butt. I want to come back. You can literally hurt somebody.
So if you did that, that's what I was going to ask you. So you kind of.
Yeah.
So every new client, if you just worked the dookie out of them, you just did high intensity training for the first week, do you think they'd come back?
Most people won't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
again, it
try to
depends on
start
the
off
person.
light.
Yeah.
You know, because they're gonna say, "Oh man, my arms are killing me." You know that soreness you feel.
Yeah, it's
when
gotta
you
be
first start back?
functional. Yeah.
That crap hurts, and it lasts for a while. You're literally tearing your tissues down, your muscle tissue when you work out. People don't realize that. You know, you grow outside of the gym. So when you take time off, you're letting your body rebuild and grow.
So I was watching this YouTube video. Some of these like real famous health guys. I forget his name, but you guys would probably know him. And he had this really jacked older bodybuilder, and they were talking about how often all that stuff is actually useless. You know, you get to a point where it just comes diminishing returns. Like
What
you
is
can
that?
work out.
What are you talking about?
Oh, the high intensity
Yeah.
working
Oh,
out all the
it's
time.
highly
Yeah.
inflammatory.
Like a certain point, even if you can physically do it without injury, let's just say let's say that
Yeah.
happens. Like it doesn't actually move the needle for you.
No.
Then if you would just rest at a certain point or stop at a
It's
certain point.
overtraining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, it's inflammation. So like just like I said,
Yeah.
overtraining, your body does not turn over inflammation as efficiently unless you come to fusion regenerative therapies and get optimized.
What's the address?
Plug.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
You know, that's what that's about. So whack, whack, whack.
Whack.
Whack. Whack.
Yeah,
Whack. Whack. Whack.
yeah, yeah. So what about caloric needs, the caloric necessities? So is that or is it pretty much the same for everybody? How do you determine that anyway?
Go to the clinic, get checked out.
No, as a personal trainer, do you talk nutrition? You talk,
That's the first thing I talk about.
yeah. So when you
How's your eating? What are you eating throughout the course of
would
the
you
day?
ever say to somebody, you're eating too much, you're eating too little, you know,
Yeah.
as far as calories in, calories out?
Yep, say it all the time. You know, so I ask them how many meals they're getting in. First, I ask them what their goal is. If everybody's trying to lose weight, but what's your goal? So if you're trying to literally build muscle and lose weight, or are you just trying to lose weight? So that's how I determine how to do their diet. If you're trying to put some size on and lose weight, I add the cardio and I add 6 meals a day. If they're just simply trying to lose weight,
But
you know,
is the 6 meals for me the same, the 6 meals for him and for
Yeah.
him?
yes.
They are?
Yep.
The same?
Does one of them include a bowl of ice cream at 1 o'clock in the morning? No, probably not. No.
That's
Certain-
what,
I kind of knew the answer to that when I asked the question.
you can only be a Titan.
Yeah, so everybody can eat 8-10 times a day, but what you're eating really matters.
So where does that fit? Go ahead.
The question is, though, how much does it matter? Calories in,
It matters a lot.
okay.
Matters a lot. So I would
Oh,
say
yeah,
fat.
I mean,
What do you say? Go ahead.
I mean, yeah. I think nutrients and everything matter too. But I think it's to me it just kind of comes down to kind of a science where calories in, calories burned. I mean, there's got to be a difference of how many calories you take in to how many calories you burn in order to
Does it
lose
matter
or
what
gain
the
weight.
calories are? Can I go to McDonald's and get like 4 quarter pounders with cheese and
Well, that's what I say. Like
my
then there's
macros are 3,000 and that's 3,000 and
I mean,
roll with it?
You could. I mean, it's bad for you in the long run. But if you eat something like that and you're working out every day, you're doing cardio every day, your body's going to break that down and convert it into energy and utilize it the way it wants to use it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's
You
gonna,
could eat too much protein, drink too much protein shake, and your body's just going to pee it out, poop it out.
well,
Yeah.
it could turn into fat.
If you're taking too much.
Yeah, it could turn into
So
fat.
it'll do that with the food too.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think, man?
Well, I went to a doctor a while back. I'm probably like 3 years now, 4 years. No, it's longer than that. Probably 4 or 5 years now. And because I went to a life insurance, I had a life insurance blood test, and they're like, oh, you need to go see a doctor. I'm like, oh, I go see the doctor, and they tell me I'm diabetic.
Ooh.
And so they gave me some pills, and they said, okay, it was a really like it was no big deal.
Yeah.
And I'm like freaking out inside.
Yeah.
And so then I began to try and figure out, okay, how do I beat this thing? Because I gotta.
That's that
You know,
fear. That's a fear we were talking about.
No, in a real healthy way. You
Yeah,
know?
it'll change
And I was
you.
like, what and so all the research I was doing on all the common stuff, they were like, well, basically you can never beat it. Like it's just
Oh,
something that's
really?
gonna happen.
Really?
That's just And then I was like, this ain't right. Because all the meds, I started seeing that you start taking metformin, and then you end up taking more metformin and more, and then it puts you on insulin and put you injections, and there's like, it never really gets better.
No.
And I was like, no, the devil is a liar. So I began to research and finding natural ways to offset, overcome it. And I came across this, I forget the guy's name, you probably know him. He's a Canadian doctor. And he was a kidney doctor, and he started realizing from his patients that intermittent fasting was actually the key to getting them off of insulin resistance.
Yeah.
And so when I think about caloric intake, and then he was talking about studies that were done and how every single weight loss study that was done about lowering your caloric intake and increasing exercise, that in 5 and 10 years later, when they went back, 100% of the studies of all of the different types of exercise, lower your caloric intake, increase exercise, in 5 or 10 years later, they were actually back to where they were or worse off.
In a weight loss situation.
In a weight loss situation, yeah. And so obviously, like, people who are healthy doing it is different, but they're trying to lose weight.
Right.
And realizing the insulin resistance was a bigger factor, and sort of intermittent fasting. So that was a thing that was a trigger for me that began to help me to lose all the weight that I've lost. I'm still working on it, but
you look good.
It was I thank you.
Congratulations.
I mean, I looked at an old picture of me. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Listen,
Let's bring one up.
Most people would look at me and wouldn't think that I'm type 2 diabetic.
Yeah.
It's all about what you put in your mouth.
But my doctor, my doctor was telling me not to do intermittent fasting. And I was like, wait a second. So I was like, no, I'm doing this. Because I had done so much research on this process. And then I started slowly doing a low, and obviously I'm not a doctor, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to figure it out because everything I'm knowing is confusing. So I'm kind of like figuring out what's working for my own body. And so I started doing it. I started doing intermittent fasting, changing my diet in incremental steps. Lowering
You
all
have
the
to
sugar.
do everything.
And
Cardio, you have to change your diet. If he tells you you're diabetic or about to be, everything has to change.
so
at that point,
in 9 months, I went from 8.12 to
A1C?
A1C to 6.4, and then down into the 5s now.
that's good.
And so he's like, you're no longer diabetic.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, it's important to understand, like, you gotta, like, everybody's different. You're coming to that conversation at a different point in your life, a different point in your journey. Like, if you're healthy and you're eating healthy for a long time, you're gonna make different choices. But if you've been in a mess for a long time, sedentary for a long time, you have to make different choices. And everybody, like, to your point, it's got to be optimized to who you are, how you're wired.
That's what I was going to say.
Your genetics.
Yeah, that's what I was going to segue off of, is that, to use your personal case as an example, you made yourself diabetic by bodybuilding and eating
the
all
choices,
that, right? Right. And so to the question, calories in, calories out, yes, to a point, but you have to eat specifically to your genetics and to your blood type and to your goals and to your hormones and to your everything. So there's so much involved. It's very scientific.
That's what I'm curious about.
Because if you have the goal of losing weight and you do keto to lose weight, you might be jacking yourself up. This might be a better way to do that.
Yeah.
So it's really important to find a specialist that can figure out what that right plan is for you and optimize and get the most healthiest nutraceuticals and nutrition plan.
Montalvo.
But straight up, like,
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you're a teacher as well.
Yeah, right.
And you need to get on medical professionals that are willing to teach you, because you've got to be the expert of your own body.
That's right.
And that was one of the things that I began to learn. Obviously, I don't feel like I am yet, but I'm learning so much. And I think getting around medical professionals that were willing to teach you what's going on, what's working, and help you to process that.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting too. I mean, you talk about, like, going to the doctor and then he didn't want you to do that and you found out your own thing. I mean, I think, with Google, with social media, I mean, everybody's like doing their own research into health.
Literally.
And it's almost
Bro
like,
science.
do you even like listen to your doctor anymore? Sometimes I think, I don't know, it seems in many ways very outdated, like what your traditional doctor is kind of talking to you about. And it's like, And there's again, we go back to there's just so much information out there. How do you even know? It's like intermittent fasting. I think it's great. I think I like the concept. It makes sense to me and everything. And I've heard a lot of good things about it, studies about it.
Very good things about it.
Yeah, but it's like, and then there's different kinds of that. I mean, there's people. Some say no, you can't do it. Breakfast is the most important meal.
If you're working out on a regular basis, you're kind of depriving your body, of nutrients. So it's like, if you're working out like literally every day, training heavy, you have to eat consistently, and it has to be what you're eating that really makes sense.
Right.
So you can eat 8 times a day, but it's got to be the right type.
Yeah, because
stuff.
I heard bad things about that too. About there was that whole thing for a while where it was like eat small meals, more small meals throughout the day.
That was really bad for me.
Well, that's what they say. It's like it was like a glucose thing.
But I wasn't. But I'm not like a even amateur athlete. And there's a difference.
Yeah.
So if you're like bulking and building and all these other pieces, your diet and your nutrition plan, is going to be different.
Plus, your body's got gears too. So, like if you're an athlete, you go into these other gears that the average Joe or Sally doesn't go into, and so your body's able to handle things differently.
Because I lost like 70 pounds. The only exercise I did was walking.
Right.
That's all you need.
Well,
cardio.
That's the ultimate.
I mean, and then I started introducing later on resistance training because for other reasons. But but I mean, it was just
most people will do that.
Yeah.
They'll do cardio and then they'll go back and eat something that will throw you right back.
Yeah.
They'll take 1 step forward, 5 steps back. So
nutrition plan was a
can't
big
get
thing for me.
It's like I said, it's a mental thing. You have to be willing to go all the way and make that decision, that choice.
It's a
This is what I
lifestyle
want to
change.
do.
Yeah.
I want to go this way now.
But
That's
I
how
did
it has to be.
75 hard as well. Like later on, kind of like towards the later part of that whole kind of sequence for me. And that was a really great jump start for me. It's not a health thing, but it's a huge health component. It's my self-discipline.
Right.
And it was fantastic. And it was really good. And so it was like a fad diet. It was like a great kind of like
goes back to what you're
it
saying.
was kind of like a catalytic thing for me, but it was really useful.
Did you have any coaches or mentors or anything through the beginning process of that?
No, I learned online. There was a couple people that I followed that I was educating myself with online it seemed to resonate with what was working for me.
Already.
Well, yeah, I got 3 kids and a wife. I mean, I don't want some other man loving my wonderful wife or raising my kids.
In a diagnosis.
No, God's got too much for me to do than me to
Once
short-lived.
again, it's the fear.
Yeah.
Fear gets everybody off their ass.
Yeah, that's
You know
true.
what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So to go to what you were saying about there's so much information out there, and there's some really, you can go on Google, ChatGPT, whatever, and find out the information and get on YouTube and look really smart. But it's about knowing how to apply that for you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about knowing how to put all that information in place. Does it apply to me? Does it not apply to me? And where to structure it in the plan. And so that's why you got to get a good functional medicine practitioner. Yeah. So Pete, what about rest and recovery? So you're going to train, and this kind of goes to overtraining. We talked about it a little bit. Kind of pulled into it. So rest and recovery.
Yes. Yeah. You have to. I mean, Sam mentioned it before. It's rest and recovery. I mean, Sam could speak to this much better than I can. But like when you're lifting weights, I mean, you're actually literally tearing your muscle down, and the only time it grows is when you're resting it. So I mean, it's you have to have rest and recovery. Now again, it's like, I could say, well, I worked out 3 months ago and I've been resting ever since. I mean, obviously that's a little much on the other way, but I mean, so it's all kind of relative. But
Yeah. So like you can't work out 7 days a week then?
Sure. You could do different things.
Is that rest and recovery though? Is that fit that protocol?
I mean,
it's really talking about people that are.
And again, it depends on what you're calling working out.
They got to do some cardio, or they got to just
listen. Being that way is not bad. Like you don't have to work out, but doing cardio every day.
Yeah, maybe a Sunday you go for a walk. I mean, it's like you're doing something every day.
Your body moving.
You don't think there's any value of just taking a day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days of just not doing that? And allowing your body to heal, focusing on your mind, focusing on your spirituality.
I think your body will tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Again, I'll let you health experts talk more about that stuff, but I think more holistically, because I think so much of our spirituality is intertwined with our physicality.
Oh, absolutely.
And what's going on in our mind. We are not just mind, body, spirit. We're holistic to your, kind of what you talk about with fusion.
Yeah.
Like when God made us, He made us human, and that's all those components, integrated completely. And so we need a rest. Sabbath is, kind of my attitude. I want to have a Sabbath rhythm in every area of my life,
Right.
where I'm making space for rejuvenation, for renewal, for celebration, from spending extra time with God, for hearing with Him. I want to create space to hear God's voice and
Yeah, that's what
sit
the
alone.
Sabbath is about, right? You're
Absolutely.
intentionally taking time off of work and working out
The way that I tell
to
folks
be with family.
is
and to-
6 is greater than 7.
What is that? Unpack
So
that.
6 is greater than 7. So 6 days working diligently is better than 7 days working diligently.
Right.
Because the 1 day of rest maximizes the 6. And I'd rather have 6 days with God's blessing than 7 days trying to strive on my own. I want to make room for God in my life. In my finances, that's why we tithe. Is that forget about all the law stuff. It's just the principles. I'm making room, creating space, honoring God, making room. So I'm showing everything in my life should have a Sabbath rhythm.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, if you flip
That's
that
true.
around, because
That's
you
true.
said like you're gonna leave this to the health experts, but if we turned it around and said you did 6 days of just all spirituality work, it would be the same thing, right? Because you're neglecting your body, you're neglecting.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that was the thing that
So it
really
goes to the
convicted
point of
me personally.
optimizing.
My,
Yeah, 'cause
my, you
God
know,
was
my
challenging
mom
me.
used to say that all
Yeah.
the time
Yeah.
because I used to walk around the house flexing. She's like, "Oh, your physical body looks good, but what's your spiritual?"
Yeah.
And I used to look at that. And I'm
Well.
picturing it like this little teeny
Come on.
guy. Like I never worked on my spirituality, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean anything with church. It just could be
Whatever.
connecting with yourself spiritually
Yeah.
and with
Meditation.
God.
Meditation, whatever.
Yeah, meditation.
Well, I'm not a
or
whatever
it
guy,
may
but
be.
yeah,
However,
sure,
yeah.
go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree, because I
Yeah.
come from a Christian background. So, and I'm a firm believer that helps mold you.
Absolutely.
You gotta have all
I
three.
grew up
You
in
gotta
church.
balance
so
them.
gotta have balance.
What do
Gotta
you
have
think, Pete?
balance.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, everything again. It goes back to what I was saying before about working on yourself as an individual, and spirituality is certainly a part of that journey,
Yep.
and that work that you have to do. I mean, it's just that's who we are as people. It's mind, body, spirit. I mean, it's just,
Complete
Yeah, I
structure.
believe this body's temporary. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And that spirit's gonna be rocking for.
Yeah, but I do think like sometimes, and this is where God convicted me in my health journey. Like it was fear, but it was also the sense like, hey, if there's one area of your life that's undisciplined, then God challenged me. Then it's gonna bleed into other areas of your life.
Yeah.
And it was a point of conviction for me to realize, you know what, there's that. And then the other part is there's a lot of people who live short-lived lives because they're just not making wise choices
Right.
with our bodies, and we've got to make better choices so we can have a greater impact in the world, right?
Right.
Business, family, spiritual life, everything. Like we want to be healthy and strong to give our very best
Yes.
to the people we love and the people that God's called us to.
Yep.
and that kind of goes back to what we started talking about in the beginning about what it means to be a good man.
man, yeah.
I mean, and that's the good part of it. And yeah, there's other things that there's again bad actors that.
I would love for us to unpack maybe another podcast of like what are some of those things that get us into toxicity.
Yeah, well, that's what this show's
Yeah,
about. So I think it'd be a good idea, man. Just
It's a great pitch for episode 2. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll want to tune in.
Yeah, because we got to address some of those things if we're going to actually break, like you talk about limiting beliefs, and there's things that hinder us from actually becoming the men that we're supposed to be, moving forward, growing, getting traction, really, advancing as men in every area of our life.
Yep.
And we got to deal with some of that stuff that we don't like to talk about in among dudes.
It'll be good also to have like women on the panel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As well, to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get the perspective and
Perspective, yeah.
definitely.
Hey, Butler. So when you're a majority of your clientele, what percentage of your clientele would you say is obese or morbidly obese?
Surprisingly, not too many.
Okay.
Once again, because I'm in the gym.
You're an
a
athlete.
lot.
You're more of an athlete.
I'm in the gym a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I may get somebody that may call me and say, "Hey, some guy from high school I hadn't seen in 30 years, and just huge, unrecognizable. You know, so we have to literally, it's like construction. Like, all right, we got to do this.
Deconstruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy calls me up. He's scared. Doctor told him he's about to have a heart attack. And that scared him enough to call me.
Fear.
I haven't heard from this guy in years.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, who's this? So we literally had to change everything about what he was doing. So dieting to just his whole daily ritual, just
Yeah,
change it.
it's a lifestyle change.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lifestyle change. You know?
So how'd you address the mind and the spirit?
So he had to come to that mental.
He did it on himself. Is
Yeah,
that what you're saying?
yeah.
He just
So mentally,
finally
he's
had
like,
the
I got to
courage,
do
the
this.
gift of desperation to walk in the door.
Yeah, because anybody can just walk. It's just like when people work out, and I see them working out, and they're going like this, and they're looking around. I'm like, you're just going through the motion. You're not.
Like you literally have no weights in your hands.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you're just going through the motion. You're not. You have to physically, mentally put your brain in your bicep, like you know when you see the like
Mind
Arnold.
body connection.
Yeah,
You have to do that with faith.
You
have
do.
to do that with mind stuff. When he's working
100%.
with me in business coaching, he's like, you know, you got to put yourself there. You got to visualize, you know, you and your business being successful, you know, making the numbers, making the projections happening, and experience.
It's all connected.
Yep.
In spirit.
It's all
sense.
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah. And it all
takes
starts
the
with the-
physical to understand the spiritual.
Yeah, and it all
vice
starts with
versa.
the mindset, though. I mean, with so many things. I mean, it's so important to get your mind right and focus. And like you say, like a lot of times, you know, people have to kind of come to that place themselves. But you know, there's things that you can do to kind of help them get there. I mean, just you know, kind of asking the questions, bringing things up, and just you know, getting them to think that way. But
Yeah.
it's just it's an important part of the whole journey.
An important part of being a non-toxic male.
Yes, it is. That sounded like an out to me.
Yeah. Hey, mad love, big hugs, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Non-Toxic Masculinity with my homeboys. Tune in next week,
Yes.
next month, whenever we come back. Like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, social media, Facebook, YouTube. And we love you, man. Peace out.